And joining us on the line right now is Dr. Mark Slavens, the head of environmental affairs for the Scott Miracle-Gro Company. 15 years experience in the area of pesticides and lawn control issues. Thank you so much for joining us, because we got a little controversy going on in Montgomery County where the council is considering a bill that would outlaw the use of pesticides on lawns. They say, look, the EPA, sure, they've got their rules and regulations and they've looked at it. And, and the Department of Agriculture in the state of Maryland has looked at it. But we know better, and we don't think you should be using pesticides on his lawn. Listen very quickly, if you could, Dr. Slavens, to what George Leventhal told us just the other day on Mornings on the Mall.
I've heard from constituents across the community who feel that their rights are infringed upon when their next-door neighbor applies chemicals to the lawn next door that may trigger asthma in children, that may expose pets to all kinds of health hazards. There's abundant published research that showed direct linkages between lawn chemicals and a wide range of health concerns, a wide range of cancers and problems with childhood brain development. Children in particular are especially vulnerable to environmental chemicals.
All right, so that's his argument. What do you say to that, Dr. Slavens?
Well, Brian and Larry, first, thanks for having me on the show this morning. I really appreciate your time. And I want to just take a step back and kind of talk about our company historically and some of our positions on the environment. And a lot of your listeners may know from about 8 or 9 years ago some of the work we did in and around the Chesapeake Bay, specifically with the Chesapeake Bay Foundation, trying to come up with solutions for water quality, in regards to phosphorus pollution and other constituents. And out of that work, we signed an MOU with the Chesapeake Bay Foundation.
A memorandum of understanding.
Yeah, where we agreed to work to remove a majority of our phosphorus in our lawn care products. And out of that work really stemmed two really important things. First was really the Environmental Affairs Office within our company, where we decided it's really important to have somebody oversee and have authority within our organization for that. But we also did some really good work and actually removed 100% of the phosphorus from our lawn care maintenance products, because we worked with leading authorities and universities to understand that.
Yeah, okay, I get that. But now we're talking not about phosphorus, but about the use of pesticides. And is that something that that Leventhal has a point on, or is he going further than he needs to go in your mind?
Well, so I want to applaud Leventhal and the council for what they're trying to do. So recognizing that they are concerned for the people in their area that they represent and their health and safety. And also want to agree with his position that a green, thick, healthy lawn is a good thing. And we can achieve that through some of through some of the things that he mentioned, like proper fertility and overseeding and things like that. But the use of pesticides isn't necessarily related to just a green, thick, healthy lawn. When we talk about using pesticides, we think of them as a tool, and they're not a tool that's to be used arbitrarily or prophylactically. They're a tool that's designed to help us solve a problem that we may have. And sometimes those problems can be related to the cosmetics of our landscape or our garden, but more often they're related to some pretty serious, significant risks like fleas or ticks or other common concerns that we can have in and around our homes. And so we use them as a tool to help us treat things effectively when we have problems, not to be generally used preventatively.
Dr. Slavin, thank you so much for bringing that. You walked me right into what I wanted to talk to you about. My kids played soccer. I think a whole lot of people listening right now have children who either currently do or used to play soccer. And I remember the first time one of my kids came back from soccer, we don't own a pet, but my kid had flea bites all over her ankles and all over her legs. And we discovered that the field that we were playing on, they didn't use any kind of pesticides on that turf. And, when kids are playing soccer, let's face it, when they're little kids, they spend a lot of time just sitting in the grass. They just spend a lot of time just sitting there waiting for the ball to come by. Or, if you've ever seen a 7-year-old play soccer, it's not a whole lot of action, let's face it. What's wrong with people using these pesticides to kill some of these pests that really can cause damage to our children?
Well, that's a great story. I have 2 young boys as well who are very active in sports, and so I can really, recognize where you're coming from. And this is one of the risks we see. So as we move away from these tools, we're putting a lot of concern around the health and safety of our children as well, not only from the playing conditions that we're exposing them to, so removing some of that cushioning and safe footing and things that can actually lead to other injuries, which is important, but there are actually, and more specifically down south with fire ants, but there are instances where kids have been significantly injured or even killed based on pests that exist on athletic fields because they weren't treated with this tool. And so, we have to really look at the actual benefits of these and look at the potential risks, which that is what we do as industry and, through product development. Is we do a lot of work assessing the risks of these products to make sure that as we develop them and formulate them, we do it in a way that is safe and effective.
Well, let me just say that I've owned yards. I took great pride in my yards. I've used your product. Your product is all about making sure that I've got a thick and full lawn. But I have also seen my lawn go to the grubbies in about a week, flat, because I did not apply the pesticides.
You mean grub worms?
Grub worms, the grubby worms. Yeah, the grubby worms. I mean, they will decimate a lawn in about 1 week flat if you don't do preventative maintenance. Are you saying we should give up that practice?
No, I'm not. In fact, when it comes to the grub worms, you talk about the impact on the value of homes, specifically in a market like where you are, where home values can be very important. The home and garden can represent up to 15% of the home value, and so you have something potentially as devastating as grubs or a disease come through that could wipe it out. You potentially could lose a significant portion of your value when you could go and spend $29.99 on a product that could quickly help prevent and continue to provide you with not only that value from a monetary standpoint, but still the value of being able to get outside and enjoy that space that you live in.
So we've been told by certain people at the Montgomery County Council that there are perfectly safe, all-natural methods of getting rid of grub worms. You don't have to use chemical pesticides. You can get rid of them with some sort of natural product that won't harm the environment. Is that the case?
So, this is one of the interesting things. Sometimes there's good science and sometimes there's bad science, and I also want to emphasize that sometimes this science leads to urban myth and misconceptions. And one thing I want to be perfectly clear on, we are in the organic and natural business, and there are some great organic and natural tools out there. But organic and natural does not automatically equal safe. And that's something that I think is really important. In fact, in the situation you're referring to, one of the common treatments that's an organic version is something that has to be applied multiple times a year. It's in a powdery form that actually can expose people to some pretty significant health concerns if not used properly.
Oh, geez.
And so,
great. So in getting rid of these chemical pesticides under the guise of health, people might go to these organic things, and those things could actually harm people's health as well.
Yeah, and the tools that we're talking about getting rid of, these are the same tools that we still apply to our pets, like dogs, to treat for ticks and fleas, but now we're saying they're no longer safe enough to apply to our lawns to help control some of the common pests that we have in our lawns. So yeah, I just want to make sure that everybody's clear that a lot of times these, what we call more traditional products to help us control these, are often more safe and extremely more effective than the alternatives that would be considered organic and natural, both because you can apply significantly less product, but the effectiveness of them is so much better.
That's really interesting stuff, that the organic solution may be worse than what we're using already. Well, listen, we got to leave it right there. Dr. Mark Slavens with the Scott Miracle-Gro Company, thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me. Appreciate your time.